Wow. This is Star Trek. Welcome back to Newbie Star Trek. I'm Marvin. I'm here with Ricardo and Dan.
Hey, I'm Dan.
Hello, I am Ricardo. I'm still myself.
That's true. Things haven't changed there. Everything else in the world has changed, but Dan and Ricardo are still there. I have changed. I'm a horrible person now.
I'm still a piece of shit.
Wait, what changed?
Don't worry about it. So, welcome back to Newbie Star Trek. It's thanks for listening, by the way. If you've been with us for this long, stop by on Apple Podcasts or wherever, give us a review. That'd be fun. If you really like the podcast, that would help us out a lot. Get us up those charts. But anyway, this week we had watched The Last Outpost, which would have been episode 5. It would have been a good episode if it weren't for the Ferengi. So,
but it's all about the Ferengi.
I know, exactly.
Hopefully, you'll explain yourself.
Well, you know, we'll talk about it.
Sure.
Sure,
we will.
It's the first appearance of the Ferengi.
Yes,
which is interesting. And just as a spoiler, Gene Roddenberry thought the Ferengi would become the big bads of Star Trek, like the Klingons were.
Yeah.
Spoilers, they did not. So this episode premiered on October 19th of 1987. Dan, if you could give us a recap of what was happening around that time.
Well, around that time, I noticed that, like, it's my habit to check, like, the music charts of the week. Mm-hmm. And notably, 1, 2, and 3 were Michael Jackson, Madonna, and Prince.
That's a good trip.
Yeah, with Bad causing a commotion, and You Got the Look.
That is a good trio.
I was just found that, like, oh, wow, that's pop culture right there. Also, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out was released in stores just the day before on the 18th.
Ooh.
Fantastic title there.
One of the best NES games ever.
Yes, agreed. But unfortunately, on the day of 10/19/1987, it's actually a very notorious date in history because it was a Black Monday. It was a day where the stock market dropped over 20% in a single day. It was
coinciding with the arrival of the Ferengi.
Exactly. How
coincidence?
What a weird coincidence. Actually, if you want a modern examination of Black Monday, there's actually a Showtime TV series about it that just debuted last year, 2019, starring Don Cheadle and Regina Hall. It's about Wall Street outsiders who get entangled in the stockbroking leading up to the crash. So
they realize
check that out if you like.
This is all bullshit. This is awful.
Yeah. So stay tuned for our Black Monday podcast starting next week.
Newbie Black Monday.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Well, anyway, that's what I got.
Wow. What a shitty
time. Good thing we're in such a better place now.
Yeah. Things are definitely much better now. There is absolutely nothing to worry about anymore.
Much better.
Much better.
It's all good.
Don't want to talk about anything.
We'll be fine.
My jaw will unclench very soon.
The Ferengi. This is the first time they showed up. And
ever?
Ever.
Yeah.
And I also found it so interesting. Like this really was the beginning because, like, even within canon in the show, this is supposedly like the first contact Starfleet vessels have ever had with Ferengi ships.
Knowingly. Apparently, there's like flashbacks where they're like, "What ship is that?" and they never found out, but that they were actually Ferengi.
Oh, but so they're like they retcon stuff later.
Yeah, but it still makes sense canonically because they were like, we didn't realize that was even Ferengi, and we never saw them before. We were just like, this is a UFO. We don't know what it is, you know.
Yeah, so it's prequel bullshit.
Yeah, basically. So
did you ever want to find out how the Ferengi ships grew to be so mysterious?
You ever want to find out why the Ferengi are such horrible stereotypes? This is why. Anyway,
gosh.
Ricardo, having watched the episode, would you please give us a recap?
I can. But before we get going, hey, ease do you want to sponsor our program? Because if you like the smooth taste of sour diesel, or the silky taste of lavender cookie base camp, what better place to get your products of the cannabis nature than Ease? Ease, so smooth.
So
Back to you, Ricardo.
Smooth both in product and in service.
Yes. I've
never used Ease. I don't know. I
have.
can't use Ease.
Many
My
times.
brain.
Your brain will melt.
Yes.
So this episode, I should start every episode, or when I start describing it, by asking a few questions.
Sure.
So I already asked. The Ferengi had never been in any of the previous, one previous series, which was, what do we call that? Or is it Star Trek?
That's TOS.
Yeah,
TOS.
Stands for the original series.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
It's a lot of letters to remember.
Yeah, see, the Ferengi, this is why the presentation is so ominous when they first show up in this episode. Like, you don't see them for a while.
Mhm,
Everyone's scared of them. Because Gene Roddenberry honestly thought this was going to be the replacement for Klingons.
Mhm.
You know, fucking Ricardo Montalban as a villain. They thought this would be that. And they were very wrong.
So the Klingons, what is Worf?
Worf is a Klingon.
Yeah,
He's a
that's
Klingon. But why does Ricardo Montalban look like a handsome fucking young man, and Worf looks he's got some weird things going on his forehead?
Because the original
Khan
version,
a Klingon?
he is a Klingon.
Oh, shit.
No. Khan is not a Klingon. I'm
He's
sorry.
a Romulan. No.
No.
No, I think he's like
he's a
singular
superhuman.
being. Yeah,
He's a
like-
superhuman.
He's like an
Yeah.
experimental.
I'm sorry.
super baby.
This is something that I mentally always mistook as when I was younger, that Khan is a Klingon. He's not. He's a
He's not.
superhuman that was like genetically altered. But there are Klingons in the original show. The reason why Klingons look the way they do in TNG versus the original is because the originals, they look like horribly racist Chinese stereotypes. And then they were like, we shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And then so they explain it away by saying, okay, so Klingons look this way now. They're alien, but not in a racist way. And the reason is because there was some sort of Klingon virus that radically altered their entire species appearance at once, which is really strange. I mean, they could have just not done that, which is also fine. But Star Trek goes out of its way to like explain everything, right? So it's fine.
Well, isn't it funny how like they're like, dude, that the fucking the Klingons, we were really racist about them, dude. But anyway, let's talk about these Ferengi and how they're basically Jewish folk. What the fuck are they thinking?
I don't know.
That's like they'll never figure it out. It's their ears that are big.
Oh my god.
And they love gold. No one will figure that out.
Everyone loves gold.
Yeah.
That thing that can be replicated endlessly at any terminal.
That's true, huh? Yeah.
They could have just replicated it and been like, hey guys, if you guys want gold, we'll give you all the gold you guys want.
Is that all you want?
Equitable trade.
All right, so we have the last outpost, and what it is the crew of the old Enterprise. They are in pursuit of this Ferengi vessel, which they believe has stolen this power converter or energy converter, and they stole it from this unnamed like Federation outpost, and they're hot on their trail. And then the Ferengi ship and them stop really close to this planet, and the Enterprise starts losing power, and they can't shoot off any missiles or whatever they're called, phasers.
Yeah.
And they're like, what the fuck is going on, man? I don't understand why are we losing power? These guys are supposed to be at the same technology level as we are, the Ferengi. And then they think that these guys are going to shoot them down, but like they're both not shooting. They're just kind of like just sitting there like ducks in the water, not doing anything. And then they send a group of people. You know what I noticed about this episode? That there's no, the Beast storyline is really very sparse. Like their main thing with the Beast, first of all, we got a vacation from Wesley in this episode. No fucking Wesley.
Yeah, he's
fucking
shown at all.
Like not even. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are going to be episodes where you don't see certain, like for example, in the racist Wakanda episode, Worf doesn't show up at all, for example. Even though being a warrior, he probably would have been a good fit for the show, but they probably took him out specifically because they wanted Tasha Yar to be, more involved as a warrior.
Security. And it's also kind of interesting because Worf is the only
black member of
the black member of the bridge.
Well, of the bridge, because Geordi's often down in engineering. He's often on the bridge too, but
I guess you're right.
As the seasons go on, he ends up being much more of an engineering guy and stays there way more often. So
I'm too used to thinking of Geordi in the engineering area.
Yeah.
So they're like, should we shoot them? Should we not shoot them? These guys are weird. And then they decide, let's make contact and see what's up. Let's talk to these dudes. And then they come on the screen and woof, boy. They have huge ears. These dudes. How do we describe these guys? They're really
the way they frame them they're trying to make them as hideous as possible. Like they get them in
and they almost make a gag of it because like one of the first things he says like, "Oh, you humans are so ugly."
Oh yeah, wait, let me play the clip for you here.
Ferengi vessel from Enterprise, come in.
Your alien images again shock us.
With regard to the surrender, David Tower, the facts are somewhat.
I'll admit it's a funny gag.
Yeah.
Withdraw our surrender.
Agreed. Perhaps you would agree to a more productive relationship?
I prefer a more profitable one, human.
Yankee traitor.
Explain what means Yankee traitors. He heard that.
It recognizes your interest in profit.
God damn it, Data.
Or is that an incorrect assumption?
We seek only what is equitable. What did you seek? Why did you begin by attacking us?
We did not attack you. We gave chase in order to recover a Federation-owned energy device
which we know is ours. Your barbarous Federation placed it on one of our planets.
On the contrary, Gamma Tauri 4 is recognized by all civilized members of the Federation.
You're not uncivilized, human. Are you suggesting otherwise?
Well, I'm
nice
saying
one, Picard.
That you removed something which clearly did not belong to you.
Are you now calling us thieves?
On the contrary. I have no wish to discuss issues of property or of territory while our mutual problem remains. Like it or not, we are both trapped by this energy-draining force field from the planet.
On that matter, there can be no argument.
So that's actually the second time they show up, but that's why he says your visage is shocks us once again. But then, so obviously the Ferengi are a joke, like the way they're displaying them, and it's like it's comical, and it kind of ruins the episode, honestly. But everything around the Ferengi is like actually a good episode of TNG because like some sort of problem arises, right? And then Picard, I think he acts most like a captain for the first time here, where he's like, okay, a situation has arisen. What are we supposed to do? The enemy is very strong. How do we respond? And I feel like every cast member actually gets their time to shine. Like even Deanna, who usually is just like the counselor who gives like very like general, not very like necessary advice. It's like the advice that everyone in the room understood already. She would be like, oh, he's very nervous. And like, everyone's like, yeah, we know, we could tell he was sweating. But like when he brings her into the conference, well, not just her, but he brings the entire crew into the conference room to ask for ideas. Like she has this really great line here.
The captain, isn't firing on us an act of war? The facts are the Ferengis did fire on us, but we were chasing them. Since then, all they've done is search our computers, trying to learn who and what we are.
Your point, Counselor.
Let's talk to them.
It's been tried. No response.
But did we tell them anything they wanted to hear?
Like, it's great. Like, she's actually... Yeah, she is actually a counselor. She had a perspective of being a pacifist that no one else in the room had and actually made the right call, which is something that's really rare for Deanna.
That's true, actually, yeah.
Like, she doesn't really get to have good advice. And, you know, and this is all obviously all before they realize it's not the Ferengi doing it, right? Like, before this, they have that cool scene where Riker and Geordi are trying to do like this crazy maneuver to get out of it, and Geordi gets super excited in the
it's like the most animated he's ever been.
I know. I pulled it because it was such a weird. I never seen Geordi. I don't remember Geordi acting like this ever in the show.
What's our acceleration delay between slow reverse impulse and top warp speed?
Well, that's 0.300 milliseconds. There's. I see where you're going. We shift down, then kick hard into warp 9. Yeah, come back fighting. Woo-wee!
Can we do it, Jordan?
That's after it's done, sir. I want a slow reverse engine drop-off over 5 minutes. We'll show him what this baby can do, sir.
Give me everything you got, LaForge.
Aye, sir.
I think that's a reference to Scotty.
Maybe.
Right?
Yeah.
It sounds like give me everything, LaForge. Like, because Scotty's most famous line is, "I'm giving her everything she's got, Captain." Right? So I feel like it's some sort of reference there because they're in the warp core.
I do want to take a quick, tiny moment to acknowledge that there is a gold dead-ass Triforce just slapped onto the warp core in the engineering that I noticed for the first time. So apparently warp technology is powered by Din, Nehru, and Ferrari. Just a note.
It's powered by the old gods of Hyrule. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I'm sorry, Ricardo. Please.
No.
Oh, sorry. And one more other thing. I also noticed in the same scene. Sorry, there was one engineer who was actually covered in like oil and grime and stuff. And I saw that in the background. I was like, whoa! It's so rare to see a Starfleet.
That actually makes no sense.
With like, he looked like a grease monkey, and I was like, are they using grease and oil in the Enterprise?
You're like, it's all ball bearings up here.
Yeah, that actually doesn't make a lot of sense for the Star Trek aesthetic because it's supposed to be like hyper clean and hyper. That's interesting.
What if there's some dude that has like
Star Wars?
What if there's some dude in that like the Enterprise is a pretty big ship. Like, what if there's some dude that's like, dude, look, I don't have a family, but I gotta travel with my 65 Chevy. I just gotta take it. I gotta take it. And they're like, oh, fuck it, dude. I guess you don't have a family. Just bring it along. And he's like, look, on my time off, I like to drink a cold beer and work on my 65 Chevy.
And I also like to listen to the Backstreet. The Beastie Boys.
Yeah, exactly.
I nearly fucked up.
Oh.
Well, maybe the Backstreet Boys. We don't know. We don't know.
Yeah.
They were contemporary.
Yeah.
And also at the time of TNG happening, they would consider it classical music. So maybe he's like, I'm a classical man. I like really old machines.
Yeah, like Futurama and Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Yeah. So you got Geordi, who's really animated. He's just so excited about pulling this maneuver. And they pull the maneuver and it doesn't work. It's just they're still stuck there, and they're losing even more power. Actually, you know what I was noticing about this episode is that in the previous episodes, like Riker had not been like, if I had to write up a top 10 list of my favorite characters, he was probably at the very bottom. But this one is the one where I was like, man, this guy, Chris, what's his name?
Jonathan Frakes.
Jonathan Frakes. I thought it was Christopher Frakes. Jonathan Frakes. He's pretty fucking good. Like,
he saved the day.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it, and like time. He had some like really like subtle acting that was really well done. And I kind of changed my mind. I was like, oh man, this he may be one of my favorite characters now.
I mean, it's pointing towards that fact that he can be as good a captain as Picard, because Picard acts very diplomatic here too. But Riker gets his time to shine as, I'm not just a commander that carries out his orders. I can, because I think they're basically also trying to set up the idea that, hey, in the event that Picard isn't popular, we can just slot Riker in. So here's an example of him being a very good leader, because he's basically not just saves the day, but he does so in a very like wise way, which is like, as time goes on, doesn't feel very Riker. So it's really nice to see early on that he gets to have that type of moment.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and so this thing that's sucking their power, it's also going through all basically going through the internet that they have on board. Basically, he's just like combing through all the metadata that they have on board and just soaking it all up. And they realize like, well, maybe it's not them. Like, they seem as confused as we are. So let's do this. Let's send a party down there, investigate, and see what the fuck is going on. And they send Riker, Yar, Geordi, and Data, right?
Yeah, and Worf.
And Worf. Yeah. They send them down to explore, and everybody else stays on the Enterprise, and they're slowly losing like even like critical systems. Like they slowly
Life
like
support
there's life
is going
support, and like it's starting to get cold, but you never see them like if like support systems start to like go, don't you think the first thing is like, hey, let's all get our winter coats, we got to put on some coats in here.
No, yeah, there's like some blankets being handed out.
Yeah,
but also like there's like people are saying, oh, it's so cold, but like no one's breath is like cold, or
they didn't even break
just
out
like
their frost effect.
No.
Yeah,
Basically-
why not? They love that effect so much. You might as well have tried something. I don't know.
Yeah, and I was looking
basically
for it.
they're like, we're tired, let's just sit down. And then the Dr. Crusher is like, I'm thinking of giving Wesley a sedative. And it's like, dude, we're gonna die. And even like Luke's like, nah, let him fucking die. Give him some dignity. It's crazy that we never saw him. And another thing that I'm jumping ahead, but I want to mention before I forget is that like you at the end when like everything gets fixed, you see the doctors on the bridge and Picard's like in the captain's chair. But like so they were there the whole time, and like I'm thinking like if that's like our last moments, I kind of want to be with my son. You know, like, but she was like, nah, fuck this guy. This guy's a bitch. I'm going to leave him to die alone.
Oh man, that's a great way to frame it. Because I had thought it was like a more romantic angle. And it was just being like hinted because in their last moments, it's Picard and and Crusher together. Yeah. Which I was like, I almost said Riker, which would also be very appropriate. But yeah, my
take on
interpretation. Yeah, my interpretation of that was like, oh, they only have their last moments together. They're gonna hold. But the idea of Beverly being like, fuck my son though.
Yeah. He's fucking annoying. He's gonna ruin it. He's gonna ruin my last moment alive.
In my last moments, I'm not worried about my spawn. I'm worried about getting wet. That's what I want.
Yeah. And so she's just sitting there next to Picard, and then when she comes back, like when the life support comes back on, and like everyone like wakes up from their nap, she doesn't go, oh fuck, Wesley, where the fuck is he? No, she's like, oh, we're saved. It's like, she doesn't give a shit, dude. She's a deadbeat mom.
One thing I like about that scene when they're waking up, which I found hilarious, is that like, everyone's doing first of all, everyone instantly goes, oh, that's much better. As if that's, suddenly there's a ton of oxygen and warmth, like whatever.
Yeah.
But then like some people were like leaning up against consoles and like with their heads rested down. And then they slowly get up, like as if,
I know,
oh, we don't have to lean anymore. We can just stand upright.
This thing isn't just pulling us onto our consoles. Like, what's going on? No, everything's normal.
It's like the directors were like, we just need some shots, insert shots of people tired. You come here. Just
yeah.
This
those
is the
are
set
just
we
candidates.
have.
Those are just candidates.
Yeah, this is just between takes. You're just tired.
So the away crew goes down to the planet to inspect it, and it's really like it looks really primitive, the planet, but there's also like these weird like eye-shaped I would describe them like things you would see in the Fortress of Solitude, like these weird like crystal things popping out of the ground, and there's a lot of dry ice on the planet.
Yes.
Yeah, I love the matte painting shot of, it's not a matte painting, but the matte shot of like Riker walking onto the fake cliff and going, hello, and you look around and it's very clearly just dry ice.
Anybody?
Just pouring over these miniatures. It's very charming. Like it reminds me of like that era of filmmaking where you're just like, oh, this is
I did notice though,
like robot jocks. It reminds me of that. Yeah.
I noticed that. I think I saw some plants down there, even though while up on the ship, they say we detected no life forms. And I was like, oh, but they're plant. Oh, well, whatever.
Don't worry about it.
Data should have been like, oh, plastic.
He just looks at Riker and goes, plastic.
Yeah. Not alive. We're good.
We're good. We do. Canon preserved.
Yeah.
Put your phaser back in.
Yeah. So do they ever discuss, and maybe in a non-spoiler way, do they ever discuss them visiting a ton of planets and no the oxygen levels are perfectly fine 100% of the time.
Yeah. So earlier, when they start describing the planet, they say this is a Class M planet.
Right.
Class M means it's very similar to Earth in terms of survivability. Okay. So when it's not, they don't beam down. The one thing that's always been missing from the Star Trek like original shows, like TOS, TNG, DS9, etc., is that I don't think there's an example of them ever going down to a planet where they're like, this is not a Class M planet, but we have to be there. So they put on like spacesuits. I don't think that ever really happens. The other weird thing is that like, even if it is a Class M planet, you probably still want to go down with some sort of protection because you never know what life forms are there or what sort of bacteria.
No life forms,
exactly.
I know, but technically, like viruses aren't life forms, right?
Yeah,
so you wouldn't.
I don't know how
they
define them.
That's true. I don't know, but
so a couple of things. One would be temperature changes. Like they don't know how fast the temperature changes. They just show up. Two would be bacteria and stuff. Also, like I got really high one time and I went in a deep dive on time travel. And I was thinking, if you time traveled back in time like far enough, you could possibly even if you're literally going back in time into the same spot you're in right now, you could probably bring back some nasty diseases or catch something nasty.
You would fuck things up just from your presence.
Yeah. And even just being in the same planet, period. Like being like, look, I'm standing here at this moment right now. I'm going to travel back in time 30, 40, 50 years and into the same spot. I sneeze when I get there. I kill off a whole bunch of people.
Probably.
Imagine like bringing the common cold back to the dinosaurs, right? Like it would probably cause a devastating epidemic,
Yeah. Maybe that's what we did. We fucked them up, dude. A lot of time travel. Maybe this is what this whole Corona thing is. Some time traveler fucking sneezed on some other person.
Maybe this was actually COVID-86.
Yeah. But to us, it's only this version of it.
Yeah, the 19th.
Yeah. So they go down to the planet, and then Geordi's like hanging upside down. He just shows up to the planet, and I don't know what happened. He like ends up upside down.
They don't really explain it. They just go, I teleported this more
there are girls here.
Yeah, he's like okay with it. He's like, oh god, I wish it was
happen again.
Upside down. Yeah. And I guess it could be because of the energy, the way the energy works in that planet. I don't know, but he's fine with it.
I think like either the energy just fucks with the transporter, or because the outpost guy has so much control, he probably intentionally spread them apart as a test or something. He seems to be testing them the whole time. So
yeah, you just mentioned the outpost guy, and he is a remnant of something called the Takan Empire.
Yeah, it's interesting,
and it's a very interesting concept to introduce here because it's like here's a bygone civilization that all died out, but they were way better than we were.
Yeah,
or they were far superior to us in every way. Although they love Sun Tzu.
Well, a lot of TNG episodes, just TNG, but a lot of Star Trek episodes in general will bring up this thing of like, for the purposes of this plot, like either this extremely old race was here, or like this civilization occurred in a bubble on its own somehow and ended up being this way or very advanced, and usually just never return to it. You're just like, what happened to that guy? There's a Dominion war happening. Wouldn't the outpost guy be really helpful here?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just interesting.
Anyway, he struck me as it's just Billy Crystal from The Princess Bride, man.
yeah. I had to look it up because I was like, this has got to be like a big cameo. Like it's somebody famous I don't know, and like some thick ass makeup. No, it's just some random dude, some random guy. Day player.
Yeah.
What I did that he's kind of like an Eternal, like from the Marvel universe, right?
In a way,
sure.
In a way, yeah.
He's like really old. He's got this power, like, and he can control a planet basically. He can control like a whole atmosphere. He's a really
they do very little to explain his powers or the extent of his powers. You just say like closes his eyes sometimes and then tells you that something happened.
Yeah.
He's like, and then he tests Riker. He's like, like if he basically he plays Jeopardy with Riker. He's like,
well, it's a callback, right? So so earlier in the episode, Riker, because their plan didn't work, Riker has this quote, the conversation with Picard right here.
Sometimes, Riker, the best way to fight is not to be there.
Yes, sir. He will triumph who knows when to fight and when not to fight.
glad the Academy is still teaching the strategies of Sun Tzu.
Yeah, so there's the setup.
That line, though, really struck me as odd because why would he mention the Academy and what they're still teaching when Riker, like, how much older than Riker is he? How many more years of, like, fleet experience does he have? Riker's not green. He's served on another ship before.
No, he's white.
I think the idea is that Picard is just that old. I think the idea is that Picard's been in Starfleet for like 40 years and Riker's maybe been there for like a decade, you know? Because Picard was the captain of a previous ship before the Enterprise. Like the Enterprise is the flagship, right? He's had to go through a long career to be able to become the captain of the biggest starship, most important starship in the Federation, right?
Yeah.
So because before this, he was captain of the Stargazer, which is how he met Beverly Crusher's old husband and got involved in all that.
Oh, he slept with his wife.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
But then, you know, so I feel like he's had at least a 30-year career. And Riker, he's not just starting, obviously. He served with another captain and all that. But he's definitely at least a few decades greener. So maybe Picard was just pointing that distinction out. Because they obviously hired Picard because he looks much older. Like he's like an old man. He like in the show, he looks like he's in his 60s, you know? So it's...
Yeah. How old was he, though?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, you know, Jean-Luc Picard is alive now. So he must have been in his 40s.
The same age too.
Yeah, he's like Mike from Breaking Bad. Like he looks exactly the same his entire life. Like he never changes.
And the one time that they like put prosthetic makeup and stuff to make him look older, like when he was younger, he ended up reaching that actual age and looking better than what they made him look like.
I know. It actually doesn't look right at all now.
He was 47 at the time.
Yeah, I just figured
that sounds about right. Yeah, yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, so that makes sense. I mean, he had a long career on stage before this, and he was a Shakespearean actor, which is why he has such gravitas whenever he's doing like speeches and stuff like that. So,
right. So in summary, like Patrick Stewart's like that guy at work who's older than you. It's like you say like, "Oh man, I'm turning 40, my life is over," and it's like you're just a baby.
Yeah, that's that guy. Yeah.
He's like, I was fighting Ferengi when you were just a baby.
Also, what are Ferengi?
Yeah,
it would have been Klingons at the time.
I guess so.
Back in the day.
So these guys, the Ferengi, when you really get a close look at them, they're really weird looking. Like they looks like they have 3 ears. And their ears, the tops of their ears, they have like a weird skin unibrow. It goes from their ears to their eyebrows to the unibrow. Yeah. It's really weird.
And I like that,
but
like
also very easy to put onto someone's head.
I guess so.
And I like that because their ears are so big, when they hear thunder, their ears hurt and they go, it's so loud.
Later on, they go into other specific parts of their reproductive culture.
Oh, yeah.
Ears are very sensitive, you see.
So they're talking to this dude who's really old. He's like a wise old man with superpowers. And then, before I forget, I need to mention in the beginning of the episode, I totally forgot. I don't know why I forgot to mention it. Data is talking to him and telling him about like Earth in its early days and stuff. And basically he's talking about like our history.
Yeah.
And he keeps going on and on and on, and he won't shut up. And eventually Picard goes, that's enough. Like he basically tells him like, shut the fuck up, dude.
Yeah.
It comes out of nowhere.
Stop being such a fucking know-it-all.
I'm glad you rewound to that moment, because I have in my notes, it's like Data's all like, they're like 18th or 19th century Yankee traders. For whatever reason, I seem to continuously compare 24th century things to history and knowledge from the 20th century or earlier.
It's true.
It's just like the journey home, where it's like, what are the odds that you need Earth whales from 1980s San Francisco to save the galaxy in
San Francisco
23 something, whatever.
Yeah. These aliens came back for the whales. Oh man, I love that movie.
Yeah, that movie's great. I love that movie.
So fucking good. Oh man.
And so they're talking to this dude, and he basically gives them the Jeopardy question. Like, this is a quote. Who said it? And then like Riker's like, very cool. He's like, nah, no problem, dude. I know who it is.
This is when he says that.
He will triumph who knows when to fight and when not to fight. are being tested, Riker. What is the answer?
How do you know my name?
They just some kung fu here. And then they artificially speed up the footage.
Yeah.
You are facing fate with composure. But what is the answer to my challenge?
Fear is the true enemy. The only enemy.
And the mind killer.
Unlike these little ones who close their minds, your mind holds interesting thoughts. Know your enemy and know yourself, and you will always be victorious. Why that thought? And who is this Sun Tzu you revere?
An old Chinese philosopher.
Yeah, so there's the callback, and Riker's real. They tried to give him a big moment in the first the series premiere with docking, the docking and like being a cool guy. But this is the first episode where he's like, Riker's really awesome. He's not just like a lookalike Captain Kirk. He has the same type of wisdom as well.
Mm-hmm.
It makes his character seem much more competent than it seemed before, where he was just kind of just there.
Right?
Do the Ferengi come back?
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. They come back
plenty of times.
So often. In DS9, Deep Space Nine, one of the main characters is a Ferengi. And he actually one of the actors who play the Ferengi in this episode will go on to play that Ferengi in DS9, Quark.
Oh.
And I think by that point they had been well aware of the fact that the Ferengi are just a horrible Jewish stereotype. So I think Quark was created as a way to kind of help remedy that, but he becomes
really fleshing out like a character for at least one of them.
Yeah, but even then, he ends up being like the character that is the exception that proves the rule of the Ferengi.
The classic blunder.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate.
Like
the Ferengi is like a poisoned well. So I did some research on what the creators thought the Ferengi were supposed to be, and they apparently their intention was supposed to be that the Ferengi are basically humans now, but with Star Trek technology, right? So this is apparently how they view current day humans, like these bumbling idiots who only care about money.
I saw that explanation too, and I think it was that Armin guy himself who gave it. And it feels to me, I think that interview came kind of like later on in the careers of Ferengis as characters. And so it struck me as like a bit of a massaging of like
it's
what they
definitely
turned
a
out
massaging.
to, yeah, like it's a liberal interpretation, I think.
Yeah, because even then, whether that was intentional or not for it to be a Jewish caricature, it was like, and there's nothing you can't really. It's hard to dispute that. Like they literally love gold. Like this is literally a line.
It looks like gold. Tastes like gold.
It is gold.
So apparently I don't know much about Hasidic Jewish culture, or not Hasidic Jewish culture, but like ultra orthodoxy or something like that. But apparently certain ways of the Ferengi are depicted as treating their women are like very, very old Jewish ways of treating women or comparable. But like part of me wonders, like I think I'm willing to believe that a lot of it is unintentional, like
sure,
because I think like the word Ferengi is actually based on a Native American word Ferengi for foreigner, for European, I think. So it's like they were clearly trying to
Persian
approach it
or something. I think I
don't remember exactly, but it's basically they're trying to say, hey, these are how we view outsiders in the Star Trek world. These are Star Trek outsiders, and their interpretation of an outsider is supposed to be someone who's from our time, but it's just horribly handled for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And the problem also is that, stereotyping aside, they were supposed to be the replacement for Klingons and Romulans, but they're clowns. There's no way you could ever be afraid of these people as enemies.
They kind of hold off on revealing their face, like intentionally, but when they do at first, like on the visual comms, they have this artificially zoomed in, like they make their face like way too big on purpose, and the angles are really low to like it's like it's almost like that Apple commercial that that 1984 style like oppressive like huge screen. It's like Big Brother watching on you.
Yeah,
and like they're doing all that to try to set them up as like big bad people, but it's so weird because like they do all that to intimidate, and it really feels like they're front loading it specifically to reveal that actually they're little piddling jerks, because when you finally see them on the planet, it's like, well, they're all hunched over, they're all acting like, I think they were described as angry gerbils by the
the directors told them when you're on the set, just keep bouncing up and down like you're angry gerbils. That is your physical direction.
Yeah, it's hardly imposing as a character.
No, and like I get,
and they're also carrying around these like weird blue large intestine whips.
Yeah, it's such a strange weapon. Like you have to like really like wind up in order to shoot a shot out of it. It's not very effective.
There's a certain Castlevania like power up that functions much like that, but I'm pretty sure that's not what they were going for.
Yeah, and it's like I get it for the purposes of the episode that you wanted to like have that contrast, but it pretty much completely damaged them as an enemy, right? It's why later they would just abandon them as the main enemy of the series and go on to what they would go on to, and I don't know. I'm not sure what they were thinking. If this feels like a very Roddenberry idea where he was just like, don't worry, it's going to be great. Then
speaking of Roddenberry and the Ferengi, I don't know how far you ended up researching into this, Marvin, but I happened to come upon this little tidbit where Gene Roddenberry was apparently so into the sexual aspects of inventing their race and culture. The guy Herbert Wright, who co-created the Ferengi with him, and I think he directed this episode or wrote it, I think. He was basically like, dude, you've been telling me about their giant dicks for 25 minutes and their fucking cod pieces that they have to wear. But this is a family show on at 7 p.m. on Saturdays. And then Gene was like, all right, I guess. And
I guess we won't show their huge dicks on camera.
Yeah, fine. We can go without the cod piece. But just if they ever drop trow, you know what's there. Yeah. You know it.
If anyone ever asks, we'll have an hour-long explanation about their cocks, the cultural significance of their cocks.
Yeah.
Why they wear cod pieces on top of them.
The one of the guys, when he looks at Tar, he's like, yeah, they clothe their women.
Oh man.
Like, how dare you do anything besides stand around naked?
Yeah.
That's what I mean. It's just like
disgusting.
Well, that's another thing that I actually, around the Ferengi, I think is great about this episode is that the character balance is really good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Picard gets to be Picard and have a captaining moment. Even Beverly Crusher gets to have a little moment where she has some character going on, and
except when she leaves her son.
No, that's her character.
Well, yeah, rightfully so.
Yeah,
the reasons for abandoning Wesley are 100%. Well documented.
Yeah.
And then Deanna Troi has a very good moment where she really reorients the negotiation towards the correct direction.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the planet, Geordi gets a moment earlier too, right? With the thing, it didn't work, but he got a cool moment. He got to do something.
Yeah.
On the planet, Tasha Yar saves the day, basically. Like when it looks like everyone's about to be killed by the Ferengi, Tasha steps in and saves everybody. Data has all of his moments where he's, explaining stuff.
And even Worf gets a great moment of suggesting suicide.
He's like, if it's battle, I will battle.
Well, also when they're on the ship, it's like, there's no shame in dying in battle against a superior opponent. And it's like, come on, there's no shame in dying right here. Come on, let's do it, guys.
Yeah, and then Picard immediately goes, there's no shame in running away either, you fucking moron. It's very Worf. And then Riker saves the day. So it's in terms of character writing, it's very balanced and good, and it doesn't feel like anyone's like out of place for doing it right.
Yeah, it's a good ensemble.
Which is I think when like some of the best Star Trek episodes are when they really dive into the strengths of their characters and use them as an ensemble, and it works.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the earliest episode in TNG, I think, where it really works well that way.
And then the Ferengi are like trying to like fall in favor with this superhero dude. The superpowers dude, and he's like, these are barbarians, and they start describing all their like transgressions, and why they're barbarians. He's like, they clothe their women. And then Tasha's like, "Yeah, shut up, dude." And he's like, "How dare you insult me? I don't let Ferengi or human females insult Mordok." And he's very insulted. And then that's when like there's that whole thing where it's like, "Hey, I'll challenge you to this Jeopardy question. I'm going to chop your ear off." No, I'm not. And then he answers the question, and then like he's like, "Dude," they become best friends. After this, they're just walking around. They're like, "All right." He's like, "Follow me, dude. Let me talk to you, dude."
Yeah. Actually, this is the conversation they have, which I actually really enjoyed this conversation.
What of them? Shall I destroy them?
Then they would learn nothing.
A most interesting conclusion. But what if they never learn, Riker?
Is this a test also?
In life, one is always tested.
I see them much as we were several hundred years ago. But possessing the technology they now have, they're very dangerous.
Untrue. We seek friendship with you.
But we can hardly hate what we once were. They may grow and learn.
And learn ways to destroy you.
Well, our values require us to face that possibility. What of you, with your empire gone?
The universe exists to me to create life. I shall sleep until needed again.
Yeah, they never come back to him though, because he could be really useful.
Oh, that's too bad. You know what? I forgot that there was that line in there from Riker about like, I see them as ourselves, and you know, with current technology and all that stuff. Like, I forgot that he actually explicitly said that in this episode. So you know what? I'm going to take back a little bit of what I said earlier about that massaging. Like, there's your thesis statement there. It is still unfortunate of how they were designed.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
like you could have had the best of intentions, but it's still bad.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I mean. Like, that's what, like I said a few podcasts ago, like Gene Roddenberry, he was trying to be progressive, but he often failed horribly. Like the fact that I didn't know that story about him being obsessed with their penises. Like, why was that a point that he was thinking so much about? Right. So his priorities are a little weird. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, he's trying. But if you approach things like that, you're gonna end up with this type of thing. You know. So, this is what you get. This is what you get. Man.
And then so they're walking around like, nah, let's let these guys live. Look, we were pieces of shit once. Let them live. Let them live their life.
Yeah.
And then they keep walking, and the old dude's like, well, I'm gonna take another nap because I'm not useful. And then he goes to take a nap, and then he's like, oh, but one thing, could you please release my ship? And he's like, oh, it's been done. And then magically the air comes back on the Enterprise, and everything's back on.
Right.
He's like the Edison Power Company. He cuts him off, and then he gives him power again. What a dick.
I see you've made your payment.
Yeah. You were 3 months behind, but now you're okay. And then the crew beams up to the Enterprise, and they're like, hey, we're back. There was, like I said before, it was B plot lines very sparse on this episode.
Yeah, there really isn't a B plot line. Yeah.
Wait. We've gone this entire podcast without mentioning the fucking finger traps.
Oh yeah. It's a good metaphor, you know, for, well, okay, here's the thing though.
Where did they come from though? They call them Data and his finger traps as though he invented them.
And Riker says, why don't we send a box of Data's finger traps up to them? Well, it's like, how does, first of all, why does he have a box of finger traps? Second of all, how does he know he has a box of finger traps?
It's weird because like they set it up by having the boys just hanging out, those little kids hanging out in the conference room. Why are they there?
Yeah.
In the first place, like the conference room, it connects directly to the bridge.
Yeah. How were they in there?
Picard does not let children on the bridge.
Yep.
But therefore, how the fuck did they get in there?
It was at least a clunky callback because it's Riker who says, "Hey kids, get out of here!
Run
along, you little scamps. We're about to meet about how to die."
Yeah. So that's why there's like a random finger trap in there, and then I don't know. Like it's supposed to be the metaphor for I guess the Ferengi and the humans coming together to work on something, but they don't. Actually, nobody comes together.
Yeah,
right?
like
You
I'm
think
not
that would
even
be the
sure I
metaphor.
believe that your interpretation of the metaphor was what they intended.
No, what I mean is like I think that's what that's what you think it's supposed to be, right? Like that's literally the metaphor every show that uses a finger trap uses that metaphor for. When you struggle against each other, you'll fail. But when you come together and pull it apart, that's when the solution works.
Well,
It's like,
other times
when
it's
you-
used
when you
as like
touch-
when you're getting in your own way sort of metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's not always about two warring factions. It's about sometimes it can be about like
right.
if you keep struggling against your own like it's about accepting what's
Yeah.
there.
Well, because to me, the fact that both ships were trapped was exactly like the finger trap. And I was like, aren't you going to do that? Isn't that the metaphor?
Then is the Takan Empire the finger trap?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like I thought like
finger cuffs.
I thought the outpost was the finger trap. And then that's not what was going on. What ended up being the case is that
one finger turned out to be Riker and was really smart.
Yeah, one finger got out and the other finger is still stuck. That's
Freddy got fingered.
Takan,
So-
yeah.
Here's the thing. We've said finger way too much, dude.
Fair enough.
I tried to count and I lost count. I was like, whoa, we've been saying finger too much. And finger cuffs. So yeah, what I got from it and the
Hold it in place as
I
you
guess
free
so.
yourself.
I guess so.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then
That.
they're like, oh, okay, let's send a box of finger traps over to them and have them die because they can't eat because they're trapped in those finger traps. And then this is the first time I actually like sat through the credits,
Mhm.
and I didn't know what is it? Jerry Goldsmith did the score,
Mhm, yeah.
the main theme. I didn't know that. I just found out in this episode.
Yeah, they brought back because he did this. If I remember correctly, he did the score for the movies. Yeah, he composed the scores for the original series films,
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and
wow.
they were like, "You did such a great job here. Can you just set the score for TNG for us, at least for the first season?" And that's what happened. Which is why the score is great.
That's definitely
Yeah.
a banger of a theme.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like it. The funny part is, if you ask people today what's the Star Trek theme now, they'll probably hum this version before the TOS theme.
Oh yeah,
know?
I
You know?
agree with that. And I'll just mention this as an aside because this is a weird thing that I had growing up, kind of like you had with Khan. I kept
Uh-huh.
every time I hear the Next Generation theme, I keep thinking or for the longest time, I thought it was a Superman theme.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, because you can imagine it going da 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 da.
Superman can fly to
Yeah.
that, sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like up in the sky, Superman. You know,
Yeah.
if you can sing a Superman,
Yeah,
Sup-
that's
isn't
a Bruce
that what?
Timm
Isn't that what?
trick.
Yeah,
That's a Bruce
yeah.
Timm
That's
trick.
what Bruce Timm said.
Every good
If you can
Superman
s-
theme allows you to say the word Superman as
Yeah.
lyrics over and over.
Yeah, up in the sky. Who is that? It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's Superman.
Yeah.
You know, it all fits.
It's like da 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 Superman.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's and then TNG also. I mean, they're all Supermen
Yeah.
in their own way. You know.
Yeah. So yeah, that's basically how it ends. They have a laugh because they're gonna send a box of finger
Yeah.
traps.
They're gonna
these
kill
days.
them all.
Basically, they're not even-
By
they're not
restricting
even
their
gonna eat.
hands forever.
I want it. That's a type of thing where you want an epilogue shot and like
Yeah.
all of their fingers.
Yeah, like
are
a
all
Ferengi
trapped
bridge
in-
of like a
Yep.
whole crew who can't operate any controls.
and
because
there's
all of
there's
their
shit
fingers-
everywhere.
Yeah, it's not
because
just
they
it's
can't
not
let
just
their
their
bites.
index. Every finger. has a
Yeah,
trap.
exactly. Every
Yeah.
finger
5
is trapped
traps
in
per-
every trap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for Ferengi. Yes.
Yeah, and they're like, "Why? What is this sorcery?" And then Captain's log next episode. The Ferengi on that spaceship have passed away from an inability to control anything.
Yeah.
They got dysentery.
That's what happens when your fingers get trapped.
Yeah.
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 Man.
So you said your favorite character this episode's Riker.
yeah.
I mean, he really shines in this episode.
yeah,
Like, this
yeah,
is
for
his
sure.
hero moment. For
Yeah.
sure.
And what would again a rating? What would you?
Out of
Rate
10,
out of-
we always go right.
Yeah, out of 10
Yeah.
starships. Nicki
this
Minaj,
is
let's
a
go.
good- This is a good. That's the song that I like to play under this episode. That WAP song. No, that would have been a good one for 2 episodes ago, right? When they were all drunk.
Yeah.
But I like the Ferengi.
Leave Dr. Crusher out of this.
Yeah,
I like the idea of the Ferengi being into WAP, you know.
So we got how many starships out of 10 from 1 to 10? I guess I would go. This is a good episode. I like the drunk one a lot. That's been I think that's been my favorite now. So this would have to be like a 7, 8 around there. 7. I need a place to go from here. So 7.
What about you, Dan? What do you
I
think?
think I'm right around there. And I'm sorry, I was just laughing because I was thinking of explain what is macaroni in a pot.
We understand the sound, but
what does she mean?
is that what pussy sounds like? It's why.
What do you mean? What do you mean her cat is wet?
What?
Oh, no.
I would also give it a 7 out of 10. I think if it wasn't for the Ferengi being such a shitty thing in the episode and more interesting than they are and less problematic, it probably would go up to like an 8.5.
Yeah, sure.
But they really bring it down a lot because otherwise it's a well-written episode in terms of like, it's a very Star Trek setup for a problem.
Yeah,
there's
like
the twist.
sometimes
right?
I struggle with Ferengi because like stereotypical or stereotypes and caricatures aside, like they are written as pretty jerky, annoying characters that are easy to hate.
Yeah,
and
that's
so
the
like
thing.
the more you go along with that, it's like, well, yeah, these guys suck. It's like, well, am I assisting racism here? How do I feel about my feelings right now?
That's one of the things about Star Trek is that it's like a lot of older media, right?
Yeah,
where
yeah.
you're like, it's problematic, but I don't think being problematic in and of itself is reason alone to fully discount media, you know?
No, sure.
Like Lord of the Rings is problematic, right? J.R.R. Tolkien he basically compared orcs to Orientals, you know, and that's how this is his original description of Uruk-hai are. That's problematic, you know, but there's other things you can appreciate about the Lord of the Rings world and mythology that
False.
Hey everyone, look up. Everyone, look up pictures of H.P. Lovecraft's cat.
Oh yeah, well, Lovecraft was a horrible racist, but you know, there's things where you could you evaluate as you go, right? Like a J.K. Rowling, you go, you know what, fuck that, we don't need that anymore, you know?
Yeah, like when it's very clear that you know you have no intent on improving, then it's easy to dismiss like right then and there.
Yeah, just be like, well,
100%.
fuck this, but you know, but I just feel like yes, Star Trek is problematic. You know, in general, like I said before, Klingons are Asian stereotypes, and
they tried
really
to adjust
bad
for that, and so it's like
they're trying to adjust. And as the series itself is going on, and the whole spirit of Star Trek is they are trying to improve.
It's a bumble in good faith.
Yeah, so that's why I appreciate being able to watch these episodes anyway, and being going, yeah, that's problematic, but that shouldn't discount the fact that there are lots of things actually about Star Trek that's great. And we shouldn't completely let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater, as they say.
If it was Dr. Crusher, she'd throw out that baby.
She should.
Yeah. Well.
You brought up Lord of the Rings, and I have to talk about this now. Dude, all I wanted the whole 3 movies was like these 2 homosexual hobbits to make out. Finally.
Oh yeah.
They've been holding this love for 3 fucking movies. Let them fuck at the end of the 3rd one, or at least let us think they did. Let them spend the night in the same bed, dude.
I genuinely wanted a scene of them holding hands or something.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Even that would have been something.
They deprived us of it, dude.
And they had one shot. An ultimate, like they tickle your balls a little bit at the very, very end, where it's like, hey, we are in a bed. Let's all get in here. Let's have a big old. It's not an orgy though.
Well, they go even further though. When after Frodo decides to leave on the ship, he gives Samwise a kiss on the forehead.
True,
you know?
true. Yeah. He does.
So if he had like one other scene right before that where they held hands or something and had like a quiet moment, you would have been like, "There's something here."
Yeah,
you know, and you're like,
or you've been like,
you know,
finally they got it.
But they had to be like, no, Samwise is definitely not gay. He wants Rosemary. Was her name Rose or something like or whatever? The lady Hobbit. He wants her really bad. You know, it's like
nah, dude.
Like, come on.
Okay, well, quick question about that. full disclosure, I've never read the Lord of the Rings books.
Yeah, me neither.
Full disclosure, they suck.
Okay. Fair enough.
A lot of people are very angry.
I mean, I hear conflicting reports. I've heard conflicting reports. But the question I want to ask is
and there's some flavor here and there, but it's not really character development as much as it is this happens to this character and this is how they respond, right? And then there are scenes where he'll describe how they dug a grave for like 2 pages.
Okay, so
You know?
no mechanical like step-by-step descriptions of how they had sex.
he spit on his finger and then pressed into his as that would have been a huge point in the movies. I feel like what oh my god, why can't I
almost said
feel
George
like
Romero. Why?
those would have been very different movies to George Romero.
That would have been an awesome movie.
The Uruk-hai would just be like angry zombies just running at everyone. But but the idea of that, I think what Peter Jackson really brought to Lord of the Rings for a film narrative is that he really created character development, like the budding relation. As far as I understand, please correct me if I'm wrong, people who are listening. But as far as I understand, in the books, for example, the relationship between Gimli and Legolas, yeah, that isn't really like a real thing in the books. But the movies, they decide to develop that much more, you know? Or the idea of Samwise and Frodo, I think they're definitely great friends, but I think it's most in the books, it's more about Samwise being subservient to Frodo. And, you know, that is the initial excuse why Samwise does it, right? But you can see that there eventually ends up being something a lot deeper there. I mean, just to put it in a less childish way, like they're just very, very close friends who've gone through a very traumatic experience, right? And that's not something the books really go into, because what the books do when they come back to the Shire is that the Shire is under attack, you know?
Oh shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so the way the books end is that the Shire is under attack.
By whom?
By Sauron, I believe. Sauron takes revenge, I believe, to come back to the Shire, and when they come back, the Shire has been taken over.
Oh shit.
And yeah, so this is one of the differences I really like about what Peter Jackson did versus the books, is that in the books, the Hobbits' big moment at the end is that they have gone through an adventure. Now they are warriors. They can take back the Shire on their own, and they do, right? And that's supposed to be like their development and their growth, right? But Peter Jackson didn't do that. Peter Jackson said their growth is that now that they're back, they're very different people. You know, like Frodo says, I can't really be in the Shire anymore. I've gone through such a crazy experience that I can't pretend I can live a nice, quiet, happy life.
I do really enjoy that like portion of Return of the King where they're like kind of back in the place where they started, and they're just looking around and they're
so
like,
good, right?
And they're like, this really doesn't do it anymore, man.
Yeah, it's like this used to be their whole life.
Yeah.
Now they've literally seen the entire world, seen gigantic wars happening, seen their friends triumph and die. All of this crazy, literally save the world. Then they go back to the Shire, and it's as beautiful as they remember it. And it's nice and quiet and peaceful and happy. And they don't really belong there anymore. And it's so cool. It's such a great difference, I think, that Peter Jackson brought that wasn't in the original books. And that's what I mean. Like, again, correct me if I'm wrong, people listening, but that's what I really, really enjoyed about the way he adapted it. He decided to make it much more character driven, because the books, the events are a little random. Like, this happened, and then Tom Bombadil showed up, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then the Eagles, and then blah, 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 right? But the movies decided to make more of a character development narrative through it, and the events had just happened the way they do in order to progress character. I think that's great.
I regret talking about Lord of the Rings. I apologize for the listeners.
You know what, Ricardo? Fuck you.
Well, thanks for listening to Newbie Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Newbie Loader.
What a great time. Anyway, allegedly that was the last outpost. A pretty classic episode of Star Trek TNG. Classic in the sense that it's a very
old
prototypical type of episode that they have, you know. So the next episode is Where No One Has Gone Before. And this is an
What's
episode
that
I actually...
reference to?
Gone Baby Gone?
Oh yeah.
yeah. It's a reference to a novel that hasn't been written yet. I don't remember this episode at all, so this will actually be new to me as well. Interesting. Okay. So anyway, if you like this podcast, you can find more of the episodes at newbiestartrek.com. That's NEWBIE StarTrek.com. And if you've been liking the podcast so far, hey, go to like Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening, give us a review. It really helps with the metrics. It turns out that a lot of podcasts rankings and whatnot are very linear. It just depends on how many reviews they have.
Wow. How about that?
Yeah.
So if you like it, some of you guys have already given us a bunch of reviews, so we're very happy about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you haven't given us a review and you'd like to do more, please go ahead, but no pressure.
Yeah.
As long as if you're listening, hanging out with us, that's all we can ask of you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
If you like listening to us talking about lots of other stuff too, we also have another podcast, the Fugitive Frames Film Podcast, where Ricardo, do you want to explain that one?
Look, we pick a topic and then we have like a kind of like a roundtable countdown discussion about it. We list our top 10 movies of the week's topic. Like we could do psychological horror, which is our next episode dropping soon, or maybe by the time this episode's out, it'll be out. So
yeah,
look for it. But yeah, we discuss film topics and then list like our top 10 favorite things. Or sometimes we do a director. Coming soon, we're going to be releasing an episode on old Neil Breen. Oh, spoiler alert.
The visionary.
The visionary director, auteur, artist, and
spoiler
great
alert.
Human being all around.
Yep.
Neil Breen.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ass.
Human brain.
Yeah.
And a real hero.
Yeah. And look,
he's debatably human, really.
You want to, really give it to me because I talk shit about Lord of the Rings. That's fine. Do it on Apple Podcast, the rating thing. Just rate it and then drop me a line there. Tell me what you think about Lord of the Rings. Hey, if you agree with me, Lord of the Rings.
Oh man, sucks. I would love to have like a flame war in the comments of this Star Trek podcast about Lord of the Rings only. Oh my god.
Oh man.
So yeah, you can do that. You can contact me through there or on Twitter, whatever the fuck you want to do. I'll be there, dude. But if you like the sweet taste of Sour Chaos or African Queen or Orange Creamsicle or Bagada Berry, then go ahead and contact these and tell them, hey, these guys are doing a fantastic fucking job. They love your products and they want to be sponsored. They love that sweet taste of a sour diesel and the sweet taste of Sunset Sherbet
or Skywalker.
And, or old Skywalker. They love that stuff. Send those guys some.
You gotta be judicious. You got to be judicious, though, Ricardo, because if you keep doing this too much, they'll be like, oh, they're just doing it for free.
Yeah, man.
Well, that's true.
You got to withhold a little bit.
Yeah.
You got to give them a little whiff of it. And then,
Ease.com.
Yeah, this is the kind of endorsement you could be having, Ease.
Yeah.
So if you want to catch the Fugitive Frames Film Podcast, that's at fugitiveframes.com. If you want to go catch that podcast. And eventually that website's going to have a bunch of stuff, all of our stuff on it. So.
All our links and all that stuff eventually.
Yeah. Eventually. But for now, that's where the Fugitive Frames Film Podcast itself lives.
Yeah.
And also Dan, Ricardo, and Marcel, who's not on this podcast, but hey, if you know who Marcel is, we are all making footage.
If you know who Marcel is, we apologize to you.
We are all making video game footage on a channel
footage,
called
though.
just the footage on a channel called Fugitive Games. It's a Let's Play channel, but we're also doing random reviews.
It's on this site called YouTube.
Yeah, it's on the YouTube.
It's got an umlaut.
Yeah. By the time this episode comes out, actually, we will have just finished our week of Mario, which will be not like any week of Mario anyone is expecting, I think. So
there's some good stuff in that week.
There is a game in there, spoilers, that I've never laughed more at on the channel than any other video ever. I don't think, by the time we finished recording, I had to take a break because my throat hurt because we were laughing so much.
My
So-
throat hurt for a different reason.
Yeah, dude. You're watching a lot of The Hobbit.
Watch it. You'll find out why.
So if you wanna find Fugitive Games, just you can search for Fugitive Games on YouTube, or just go to fugitive.games. That is our URL. So
Clever girl.
next time we're gonna go to where no one has gone before. But until then, thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next time.
What do you mean there's whores in the house?
What?
The whores
I
are
was
coming
still
from
doing
inside the house?
The whores? I was still doing the WAP joke.
Oh.
That's good. That's very good. That's very good.